Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Exit Stage Left. I'm your host, Neethi Bali, and we are broadcasting live from the Food Church here in North Carolina. We're people at peace, and we have declared peace to all nations around the world. This is not a marketing or a promotional channel. And, we're just here. We're shining a light on knowledge that is being hidden from you, and we're sharing the truth about your birthright and your inheritance. If you have any questions, just put them in all caps and only enter them once per show. And today I'm joined again by Tammy Healy, the host of the American State Assemblies podcast and co-leader of the Outreach Think Tank. Welcome back. Welcome back, Tammy.
Thank you. It's good to be back. And, we've got some beautiful weather here. I don't know what it's like in North Carolina, but anytime we get sunshine here, it just really lights me up. And I'm just excited and feel energized. So it's always a good day when there's sunshine. What about you guys?
I agree. It's really nice and sunny here. It is. It's a little bit weird because it's April, and traditionally on North Carolina, April, it's like April showers bring May flowers.
Yeah,
and that's what it's normally supposed to be like.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes we go from winter right into summer.
Yeah. It's whatever it is that it can create the most chaos on the moment,
Right.
I think that's what's going on here. Oh, I was bringing up the document that we started speaking about last week, and I thought maybe we can clarify what this document is about, because on Anna's webinar last night, apparently people think I'm promoting trusts, and I have never done that. I mean, Anna says that all we need is a last will and testimony, and the only reason anybody needs a trust is if they're dead or, they're dying, Oh, actually, she's not dying, but disabled. And those are the only.
You're talking about any single man or woman.
Right. So nations operate with trusts because they're operating, for the good of the people. And so they are making, and even corporations operate with trusts because this is, on scale. But individual men and women,
right,
and families, we don't need to do that, because unincorporated living people, we operate on actual testimony.
Right. And I think the miss or the confusion perhaps when we talk about the word trust was that, last week, and we're going to continue with this conversation this week, is that we were talking about how to build trust amongst our assembly members, not to be confused with an estate trust, right?
Or a banking trust, or any kind of legal, lawful trust. I mean,
yeah, we're talking about relationship building and having trust amongst our fellow assembly members in order to build better relationships and have better working relationships within our assemblies.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we just want to clarify that for everybody. I have been speaking out against trust for a long time, because most people, even Anna said very beautifully last night, she thinks it's fine if you're going to use a, like a living trust or a common law trust. The problem is nobody knows how to write one, A, and B, common law hasn't been practiced in over 150 years. So there's not enough common law that has been exercised for you to have a common law trust. So I think y'all can stop being confused about that. But we are not discussing using a trust as an instrument for a lawful or legal reason whatsoever at all. I don't promote that at all, because I know that most people most people don't know how to autograph their name, Tammy. They don't know how to actually write a proper common law trust. Let's be honest. Okay, let's be honest.
Well, yeah. I mean, and I was taught in high school, now I know why, but I was taught in high school to not use my full middle name, to just use an initial. And I was told that it would make me stand out from other people, right? And so, hey, I took their word for it, just blindly trusting like most of us do. But when you use middle initials, that could be anything. And my middle name is Anne. And if I used A with a dot, right, an initial, it could mean, I don't know, Augustine. It could mean, I don't know what
Alyssa,
Alyssa.
Anita,
I mean, yeah, I could think of all sorts of. So when you use
Armorica.
initials, you're basically, using a fictitious name, that you can't be specifically identified to you. And so, you have to go back to learning the Chicago manual, right, of style
Nice.
of names and writing.
And language arts.
Yes, in
Like, we
order
all need to
to
go back.
yes, in order to comprehend why, but using that as an example, it was how I autographed my name for years. So it took a lot of practice to undo that habit,
Yeah.
and I see still some people after they've corrected their status using a middle initial. And I
Mhm.
think it's because they either don't know, or it's hard to undo, right? That habit that you've gotten so accustomed to. But
Yeah.
kind of getting out of, now that we've clarified the fact that we're not talking about estate trusts or, common law trusts, or, any kind of trust in that way.
No
We're
trust
speaking about,
documents.
yeah, we're speaking about terms of how to build trust with amongst your assembly members to have better working relationships. And what does that look like? Because Neathy, if you think about it, right, we've all been lied to.
Mhm.
And it's hard when you realize that you've been lied to. It's hard to trust anything or anyone. But I remember Anna probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, either on a coordinator training call or on her Monday night webinar,
Mhm.
talking about how we have to start building, show up with trusting already your fellow men and women. Um, and I do believe that. I do believe that we come into our assemblies with all the right intentions of trusting one another. And I think that that's important that we do. But we also, there's signs of when you don't trust somebody, you know?
Well, you have to have discernment, and in order to know any of these things, you have to be honest. And I mean,
Exactly.
but most people aren't honest at all, and they don't even listen, and they're not even paying attention. They're not even locked in on what we're talking about. But when you're
Well,
fostering trust amongst people, what the Federation does not want is for people to operate out of paranoia and fear.
right,
And that is
right.
what is being demonstrated by all of the troublemakers on the states. They are instilling and operating and promoting um, literally fear, by the way of distrust.
Yeah. Well, one of the things when we're talking about having discernment, one of the things that I look for is how consistent are people? Are they preaching something and then they do the opposite of what they're preaching? And
Mhm.
maybe, because coming out of this matrix, it takes practice, right? If you've lied your whole life about silly things, I catch people all the time when you say, "How are you doing?" And they're like, "Oh, I'm great." But really, they're terrible. Like, bad things have happened. And instead of being honest, right? Or if somebody is late to a meeting and they're like, oh, I got caught in traffic on 80, right? And
Everybody's
come to
always
find out,
caught in traffic, or
yeah,
there's
or
too many
come to find out
lights.
there was no traffic, right? Like,
Right.
these are just small little white lies that we've all become accustomed to doing, because either it's easier to just lie than deal with the consequences of being honest and having to deal with maybe you have,
Responsibility.
yes.
Yeah. We just need to be
And so,
responsible. Look,
yeah, and I think when we are trying to build trust,
mhm.
and we're trying to, come up as somebody who will be trustworthy, these are all the skills that we want to start demonstrating in order to build trust amongst each other, right? And so I think, Neeti, we left off, I want to say, uh probably number 3 or 4, if you scroll down a little bit,
I
down
mean,
the,
I think we didn't really get past one. And I'll tell you what, can I also add something to this document?
yeah, of course. Yeah, the end of all evil.
This book right here is the only thing really that we need to study to establish common law. This
Right.
book. It's a little bitty book. It's little and bitty. And there's a free PDF version of this. So while you go over this document, I'm gonna paste the free PDF link, but this is my favorite book. You should want it also. I love to put my hands on it and be able to read it and highlight it and just go over it and over it and over it. And on the subject of trust, if I may, I'd like to just read a little bit here about collectivism, if I may.
Of course. Yeah.
It talks about culture. Okay. It's saying culture teaches the worthiness of the common good employed by force. It teaches that it is acceptable to issue law to advance a collective idea or ideal. Okay. And whether to pay for a project or control behavior, compulsion is frequently labeled public interest. Remember Anna's article about special interest in this also. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then if these things are truly for the benefit of people, why must they be forced in order to accomplish them? This is a question I think all the assemblies really need to ask themselves. If what we're doing on the assembly is truly for the benefit of people, why must they be forced in order to accomplish them? And then remember the difference between principle and law, okay? Because principle requires no enforcement. And the
enforcement is conscious, right? Like your own.
It's not. No, it's actually the universe is enforcing this. Okay. So it, like we discussed before about karma and all these things, right? So no law is required in order for people to feed and shelter themselves.
Right.
No law is required in order for people to feed and shelter themselves. Y'all, these are the basic things, right? If something must be done by force in order to accomplish it, then it is not a good thing. It is only something that the authority wants. So if we use this book to keep a pulse on what is true, okay, it really clearly defines these things. If an assembly requires instruction, this should be the manual, because it literally covers every single possible thing that you could possibly discuss. And so I yield to you with this, but I just wanted to instill that factor, because this isn't supposed to be hard, friends.
Right.
It's supposed to be easy, okay? And so I'll yield to you. I really think you were still here on importance of trust, but is that good, or you want me to go below? Because you were getting ready to get into key actions, I think.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, we can review this. I think we talked about communication, but let's review it again. Like having good communication. I think I gave an example last week about an assembly member sent me an email with an attachment with no other words, right? And so it's difficult to know, is this something for me to just review? You're sharing it. Did you want me to share it out with the rest of the assembly? Did you want me to add it to the agenda? Like what is the purpose of this email? And so, good communication skills and being as detailed as you possibly can, not leaving anything open for interpretation, right? I think good communication skills really helps to build that trust. And then encouraging open dialogue, and this is something really important because everybody wants to be heard, right? They want to speak their mind. They've got opinions, and I think all of that is fine and good. However, we want to be respectful of our language. This is something I think new, because a lot of people are coming out of this matrix and they have a combative tone and an accusatory tone in their language instead of a curious tone. And sometimes I'm getting a little bit more better at this myself, but we're all guilty of this. It's not, this isn't us to review this to say, we're so, perfect at this. I catch myself, and if I do, I apologize. It's important. I will say that recently, I found myself kind of in the middle of two women and some issues that were going on amongst them. And, I was kind of the innocent bystander. And there was some possible harm that was inflicted, not out of any malice on my part. And I don't think that there was necessarily malice on anyone's part per se. I think that there was a lack of communication that was taking place, but nonetheless, there was some hurt feelings, and so later on, after we spoke about it, and there was some clarity as far as the purpose and the intent of me being caught in the middle. um I afterwards noticed that there was some harsh feelings, and so I wanted to make sure that there wasn't any, resentment or any hostility from that event, moving forward. And so I had reached out and apologized, and to my surprise, after I apologized and said, "Hey, I'm sorry if this caused any, pain to you or your assembly," um, the response was not what I had expected. The response was, "Well, you were wrong, and you were." And this is an issue, Neethi, because this person is also, out there promoting forgiveness, right? And they're promoting it and talking about it and saying this is the behavior we are to conduct in our assemblies. But yet, when the opportunity arose for them to show forgiveness and let bygones be bygones, they couldn't let it go. And so
Sounds
that,
like
to
it was
me,
more.
that's hypocrisy.
Yeah, it sounds like it was, not about scrambled eggs, Tammy,
Right,
like
right.
it's very
And so,
personal.
I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they were still
Mhm.
sore about it, whatever. But we will see as time goes on. But for me, that's a red flag. If somebody can't, when somebody is coming and apologizing and saying, "Hey, I'm really sorry if I caused any pain, that was not my intention," and then they come back and attack you instead of saying, hey, no problem, thank you for the apology, it's water under the bridge. And then you can move forward, because that's really what we're called to do in our assemblies. If somebody made a mistake and they're owning it, right? It's our jobs to accept the apology and move forward. That's what's going to keep our assemblies moving forward and allowing us to heal and allowing us to get over things, right? Because people make mistakes all the time. People are making mistakes. Now, if something happens continuously like this, and after they've apologized, but they haven't learned, from their mistake or whatever the case may be, then I could see that that's a problem. And then, hey, like, I'm sorry, I can't forgive you because, or I'm not going to let this go because this seems to be a continual type of behavior, right? That's a different circumstance. But when you come to the table and you're recognizing that, perhaps you may have caused some harm and you're apologizing, and that person comes back and is just, well, you were wrong, exclamation point. That's a problem. And especially when they're trying to promote. And these are the things that happen, Neeti, behind the scenes. I have been party to a few private conversations where this has happened. And again, that's a red flag for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big red flag. And so that to me is screaming signs of, well, now I'm going to be cautious because you're not a forgiving person. Mm-hmm. And you want to double down and make sure that that you point out, and keep pointing out something that I did wrong, right? So that these are things that don't build trust, right? These are things that diminish trust. And so I think that we all have to think of these things when we're building relationships and we're trying to foster trust and working relationships.
Mm. Well, I'm not saying that you weren't genuine in whatever your exchange was. But I've been on the other side of that one where someone was violating my good name, and then asked me for forgiveness after 18 months and didn't even acknowledge the literal harm of continuous daily abuse.
So they continued the abuse
for 18 months or more. And
yeah,
even now, good. Like now it's been like 3 years. So it's a long time. And so
and it's no good if somebody's apologizing, but they still continue with the behavior that they're apologizing for. I mean, that makes no sense.
Well, I don't even know that they ever apologized for specifically the behavior. And we got to look at this from all the different ways. So, yeah, for number one, I don't know if you are I don't know what the situation was that you're referring to, but like, was it actually a mistake, or was it like, y'all are working together and you guys are learning a process and you got the process wrong?
Let's just say I got stuck in the middle between two situations, or a situation where there was two sides, and I was kind of the middle person that kind of got stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
And so I was taking the heat for it, let's just say.
So much misunderstanding, right?
Yeah, and I owned my part in it, and apologized. And there was some explanation as far as, like how I saw it, what happened. And, and I think explaining that I had no ill intentions, and, and there wasn't anything that continued on that path moving
So
forward.
intention. Let's
Yeah,
just go back to that. Okay. All of the problems that anyone has is based on, it's got to go back to the intention. So
exactly.
it's always real easy to see what the intentions are in any particular situation. And while we while we want to be forgiving and loving and kind, we're not going to condone any type of constant public abuse when we know the intention. And that's really the big deal, is the intention. When
Right.
the intention is try to take somebody down, if you're just trying to diminish somebody,
Well, you know what, Neethi,
there's
you're hitting on an interesting segue, I feel like, into the other part of this. Because when we are called, when we status correct and we're coming out of the matrix, we're called to be responsible, accountable, right? And I see that we are going through a transition in our assemblies. I don't see a lot of ASNs really self-governing. And I'm talking about being accountable and responsible. So for instance, in this case, and let's just use your example, right? Somebody was, publicly humiliating you, maybe accusing you of things, shining a bad light on you, and trying to destroy your reputation, right? In your terms, right? Take you down, right? It is really up to the people listening to be able to determine what their opinion of you is going to be. And this is the problem that I see within our assemblies,
right,
is that we haven't learned our lessons yet. We have not learned to do our own due diligence, meaning that people have to see with their own eyes. They have to ask the questions themselves. They have to have their own personal experience before they can determine if these quote unquote rumors or whatever they are true about you. And see, I think that's the thing that Anna is trying to discourage us from doing, is all this gossiping, right? So my advice to all of our state nationals is, if you're talking to somebody, talk to them about things that matter. Stop talking to them about other people. Stop talking about other people. Stop trying to discredit other people.
How about just stop trying to control people? But this is what happens. So again, I'm gonna keep going back to my little book here that Anna gave us. Anna gave us this little book. This is from Anna. Okay. And people can't stand it that I always bring everybody back to Anna's work, because there's 10 million different ways to go about all this stuff. And they're like, you're just worshiping her too much. Am I? I don't think so. I mean, this isn't worship. I don't know what y'all are talking about.
Now,
I've had to investigate. I just want to say that I've had to investigate and research and try to prove Anna wrong. I mean, that's what I actually did. Okay. And the other part of it is that I have practiced it. I have exercised it. I have stood up against the de facto, and it works. I'm not in Club Fed.
Right.
Okay. And
right.
So
now, just to be clear, that book, The End of All Evil, that wasn't written by Anna, was it?
No, but she encouraged that
she
everyone
recommended it. I remember her recommending it. But when people say you worship her too much, You only follow her stuff. She actually recommends other people's work because it's, she finds value in other people's work. It's not just her words, it's not just her opinion. It's other people's work that, we can all agree to, So
I mean, they
um
know that she's a historian, so that would require her to refer to the history, which is his story, which is some other guy's story, which means that she is walking on the shoulders of giants.
yeah,
And that's all we're doing too, and that's what I feel like I'm doing. I don't feel like when I'm working with and following Anna's guidance, I don't believe that I'm just following Anna. It's that I know that she is walking on the shoulders of people, that she's tested the thing, whatever it is, it's been tested. And so she is not interested in allowing us to be put in harm's way. Hence the reason why she says you don't need a trust unless you are dead or disabled. Why? Because you would need to be able to write a common law trust, okay, which the common law hasn't been exercised because most of the people right now are too fraidy cats to exercise it. You don't know how to exercise it. You're too scared to exercise it. You don't know what you're exercising. You don't know how to exercise it in the way it's intended so that it is actually lawful, so that you can actually be successful with it. Okay. So, because you don't know the law well enough to exercise it, to be successful with it, you aren't exercising it, making it common again now. And so, therefore, you can't write a common law trust today that would reflect any of that because you don't know what you're talking about. Number one. But number two, this is based, it says the end of all evil. But that's because it's based on love. What is it? Most people don't know what it is. That's the whole problem. They're not working, they can't get their relationships to work. We're having problems on the assembly, which is relationship issue problems, which is a trust problem. Again, going back to this whole trust, the people problem, make decisions for the people, which is just that little snippet that I just read, even is how is this good for the people? And if it's good for the people, then it doesn't require you to enforce it. You should just be willing to do something. That's the reason why you would want to get to be friends with our de facto employees so that we can show our sons and daughters who they really are, so that they would just want to do the thing because it's good for everybody, including them. Hello?
Right.
But no. They're too busy wanting to sit down and write a whole bunch of rules and regulations and make listen, books and books of things to enforce because they just want to be the boss of everybody. And guess what? What you're talking about right now, this divisive thing that's going on, there's all this energy, Tammy, that's sweeping through. Our new earth is rising. The frequencies are rising so fast. Do you know, in the last 24 to 36 hours, we've had such a flood of love. So much love has come through that people are freaking out, kind of. They're really confused about what it is to do. Me and you can't even get through this document because there's so many other parts and pieces. And, we are just here. We're here for the rescuing and the remembrance, and to remind all the people how much they're loved and how important they are. And they want to actually try to accuse you of whatever and have a fight with you, or find a reason to fight with you, or try to, accuse me of, or take down my good name. Look, I don't even care, Tammy. Do you know how much I don't care? Because there's 6 feet of energy and beyond coming out of me that won't allow them to show their face here.
Yeah. And the thing, Neeti, is that when you know who you are, you can just sit back and just, whoever's going to say whatever, right, about you, or accusing you of whatever they're accusing you of, you know who you are, and, there is no argument, there is no fight. They're allowed to have their opinion. And, we have to remember this when we're working in our assemblies. There's a reason why we have processes in place, because we're here to get a job done. And if you have people that are accusing you of some kind of wrongdoing, there's a process that's in place that you're following. And if you're being transparent and you're being honest and you have good intentions, all of that can be proven, right? So it doesn't matter if they say, I don't like your personality, I don't like your hair, I don't like the way that you do this, I don't like the way you do that. That's all fine. They're entitled to their opinions. But at the end of the day, if they're accusing you of something like stealing, right, that would have to be some kind of an offense that they could prove to be true, right? And so these are all things. And, I want to use another example because I feel like this point needs to be driven home. Okay. Recently in our assembly, we had a woman who doesn't ever come to our assembly meetings, but we're trying to encourage participation. And so she was really passionate about writing notices because the de facto was passing a bill that she was not happy about. And so we agreed as an assembly, because it was the assembly's decision, not just one man or woman's decision, that we would allow her to, be a part of the notice writing committee. And she could help write the notices because she couldn't make the meetings, but she said that she watched the playbacks. Well, she created a notice. And when I sent it to our assembly members, I said, you guys have to everybody review this and give your comments and your suggestions and whatever, right? Well, everybody came to the meeting. You're like, oh, this sounds good. It looks good. Yeah, I don't agree with this bill. And, whatever. I think, yeah, we should send this. This looks good, right? Well, not one person in our assembly, not one man or woman, actually looked up the bill. And it turned out that the bill was already passed 2 years ago. 2 years ago. And not one assembly member looked the bill up. So this is what I'm talking about when we're referring to discernment, due diligence, and following through with a process. You have to look it all up. You have to have a knowledge of what it is you're given an opinion about. And it doesn't matter if it's a bill that you're trying to oppose or if it's somebody that's talking about another man or woman, right? You have to have discernment and do your own due diligence to be able to come to the table and give and have your own educated opinion about whatever topic it is. Yeah.
I will add to what you just said because that's wonderful. I think I would add, I don't want your opinion. You better come with the truth and know it. Because if you're going to investigate a story, then you better get to the truth of it.
Yeah.
And so what is the truth? What are the facts? How did you arrive at that? The only way to do that is to talk to whoever it is that's involved, or in this situation, look it up, something. But the problem is that there's too many followers.
Yes.
And everybody just wants to be a follower. I mean, they'll even say, well, we're following you on your YouTube or something, and I'm like, I didn't ask you to do that,
Well, and that's you bring up a really great point, because that was one of the other things that I'd like to segue into also, is that we should not have any gurus on our assemblies, the one expert that we go to for all the information. There should not be one person doing all the trainings. There shouldn't be one person that we're going to make sure that we're going to do something correctly. It's our jobs to be doing.
Well, every
to
time that
have the knowledge.
every time that we've had that, it's been a failure, and it is the only way that compromises the assemblies, because honestly, the way one person builds or creates or does something isn't the way everyone does. Number one.
Right.
Number two, there's plenty of people who have done, and at this point, there are a million and one ways to create teaching tools.
Yes.
A million and one. And
Right.
and so honestly, what we need are teaching tools that are not biased. And so it's really, I don't know, I'm working with several tools right now where I could take 57 of Anna's articles and it'll compile it into a lecture.
Yeah, and that's beautiful,
and it
because
sources it only from Anna, which we know is sourced from thousands of people's research.
Yeah.
And Anna just does the beautiful work of, the wordsmithing of, that
years of
information.
research. Yeah.
Right. So she takes all of that, and it's because she's an incredible writer and knowledgeable of the law that she was taught and studied under, under Pope Benedict for years. Okay. And so this was important because we need somebody who comprehended fully the ancient law. Okay, that's number one. Also, she refers so much to James and how he was able to help her comprehend anything. So, I find that with my own husband. I feel like you and Dan also have these type of conversations, and we lean on our spouses to give us some objectivity, and or we have a group of people, just like she had the thousands of people. And so she's talking to many people from various cultures in order to drill down something so that she feels, okay, now she can write it because she can know it,
And I think you bring up a really good point. You just described beautifully of how our assemblies need to be operating, right? So
Right.
she took many people's research and work, compiled it together, and then was able to articulate it through her writings,
Mm-hmm.
her conclusion to the truth, right?
Right.
And this is how our assemblies should be working. We should be
Mm-hmm.
gathering information from various sources and coming and discussing things and coming to a conclusion ourselves, right? And that
Right.
goes with anything. That's a part of the due diligence and having discernment, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
if somebody is saying, hey, I have some concerns about Niti, and here are the reasons why, and they say they had some valid reasons, right? I don't know what they would be, but A, B, and C, right? And they could back it up with evidence,
Mm-hmm.
right? Evidence. I'm not just talking about somebody that shoots from the hip about Niti is stealing the funds, right? Okay, well, show me proof of that. Like, that's what your assembly should have said.
Mm-hmm.
Show me the proof.
Right.
Where's the proof that she stole anything?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Well,
otherwise it's just hearsay. And that's the thing. Like, that's happening on a lot of our assemblies.
Mm-hmm.
We have people,
and
we had somebody in our assembly, Niti, that went on Telegram. We have a Telegram channel. Went on Telegram and started spewing all these accusations and had nothing to back it up, and was calling for for like a recall, okay? And was creating so much chaos, and then hasn't brought any evidence forward. I know he's not, because I haven't done any of the things that he's accusing me of. But hey, let him try to bring the proof and the evidence.
Mhm.
But the problem
Oh, well,
is
they
that,
create it too. They create narratives. They have actual
oh yes,
meetings where they just say, oh, these things are conflict of interest. Okay, well,
yeah,
guess what? What is a conflict of interest if you're actually being honest? If you're
right,
being honest and honorable and operating in the way that you should, then I mean, we have one law. It's called do
yeah.
no
Here,
harm.
an example of conflict of interest, right? On our
Mhm.
assembly,
Mhm.
we didn't have many men and women that were stepping up and taking on positions. And
Right.
so I was nominated to be the chairman, and I was nominated and elected. My husband at the time was already serving as the marshal at arms. And so we brought this before our assembly and said, hey, uh, I will accept the nomination, but just be aware that this could be viewed as a conflict of interest. So
Would
let's
it?
talk
Because
about
wait,
this.
well, let's talk about it. Because how is it a conflict of interest when we don't have any power positions and we operate in honor and truth and fact?
Well, some people's argument, Neeti, is that
Mhm.
even if you're operating in truth and honor and we have no power positions, somebody could view that you are taking on this role
Mhm.
and making decisions where if I
So they're
was to
trying to control
persuade
you. So
people,
they're trying to control you, or they
yeah,
think you're trying to control other people. Again, going back to being honorable. Okay. So all of this goes back to the fact that there's no trust. Let's just go back to
right,
this document again, because I mean, every single thing comes back to intention and trust.
but
Every
and
single
here's the
thing comes
thing,
back to, well, it just comes back to this all the time, over and over again. And
yes, that's
and
really what
so,
it comes down to. But here's the thing,
mhm,
right? If
mhm,
you're trying to provide a landscape and an environment for your assembly members to trust you, this is what we did on our assembly. We brought it forward to the entire assembly and said, hey, look, this could be misconstrued as we are taking power positions in the assembly. And what if there was an accusation placed against me,
mhm,
and now my husband, who serves as the marshal at arms, is called to do that investigation? Do you see the conflict of interest there?
mhm.
So we discussed it and
Right,
talked about it and said, well, if
right.
something like that was to ever arise, Dan would deputize somebody and
Mhm,
would recluse himself from the position, and
mhm.
somebody else would do the investigation. And
Right.
that's what actually happened.
Mhm. Because it's,
So that
but
we
see,
can
these
wipe
are
our
there.
hands of
There's
any
always a
conflict of
solution.
interest.
There's always a way to make it work, and especially in the circumstances in which we're finding ourselves, where there's not a, first of all, there's not a lot of people, and then secondly, there's not enough people who know what they're doing. Like, you need knowledge too, okay, and you have to have been studying.
Right.
Um, for 1 second, I'm going to take a little left turn and come right here to this question. So Deborah's asking about, is it AI for all that stuff that I was talking about earlier about coming up with teaching tools. So there's a way to use a Google tool that allows you to sift and sort like 500 documents to give you like a map. Now, you have to make the effort to then go in and ask for what you want. So there's some of these like video making tools, and yeah, I guess they're forms of AI, but if we're telling it every point what to do, and it allows you to do like a detailed edit. It requires editing. It requires your full,
Yes.
it requires your full attention and your full focus, because otherwise it's very de facto in the way that it speaks, or what you don't just put something in there and let it spit something out and then take it.
Right. Right.
No.
You have to be able to read it, view it, and make sure it makes sense.
Yeah.
And change it if you have to. Yeah,
Right.
because
So
it doesn't. It
so
definitely doesn't come out sounding. You
like
know.
us.
Yes.
It doesn't sound like us at all. And in fact, um, the thing that it's really just good for is like kind of mind mapping things out and like laying it out and making it more and more focused. And
Mhm.
so it's really cool. But then you can actually, ask it for, you can even ask it for a script, and then you're going to have to rewrite it. And then we just read it and speak it out ourselves instead of having the machine do it, or whatever, because it isn't right, like the way that
Yeah, no.
the way it
Uh,
operates.
we use Canva to create a lot of our marketing materials,
Yeah.
and I'll try to do a PowerPoint presentation. I haven't had Canva create the whole like slide presentation. It
Mhm.
usually creates the theme for me.
Mhm.
And if I put something in there and ask it to word it or format it, it'll do it. But like you said, you have to go back and fix things because it doesn't sound rational sometimes.
Yeah, they were asking which one. It's Notebook LM from Google. It's cool to just create your own library of sources and then
Hmm.
only compile those sources. So, like, literally, if I just want to take all of Anna's articles on a topic, Journal Assembly, for example, you can put it in there. But like our handbook, like we had to rewrite it, obviously, because there were so many edits with it, right? So, like, if you
Yeah.
rewrite the whole thing, and then, so you can't do this in 5 minutes if you haven't done any other work and you don't really know what you're talking about. But if you're wanting to teach something and you're like, well, I'm not really great at the presentation, but, so you can use it. And then a lot of times the stuff that it'll drill out of it, it's fine, and a lot of times it's not great, but it's nice to kind of shave off a little slice and then take that slice and then make it yours. You're going to have to do something to it. You can't just kind of put it out there.
Right.
But I know that there are people that are using various AIs, but I haven't seen anything that can create what we would want to use that's accurate, because there's always a little glitch, even if it's nothing but like it's your autograph with the copyright symbol like 5 feet away and the seals aren't right, like nothing's aligned.
Right. Right. Yes.
But yeah, it's actually great to make training tools. And so I don't know, if I can get one that I really like set up and done, then I'll bring it here and we can talk about it. We can go through it like how we do some of the videos, you know.
Sure.
And but I think that we need a box of tools, you know.
Well,
Um
I know when we meet for the International Outreach Think Tank, we
mhm,
discuss tools to use for outreach, doing
right.
marketing and creating materials to use for our education pieces and outreach. And so I've really enjoyed learning from other people. In fact, tomorrow
Mhm.
night we're supposed to be Christina from Colorado is going to be reviewing. Uh, she has created a QR code that she puts out there after they do their outreach presentations. And so everybody that goes to the outreach scans the QR code and it takes them to a survey to give them
Mhm.
feedback on their outreach. And I love that idea. I think it's
Yeah.
fantastic because the feedback it will help our assemblies to create better material. Like, what did you like? What didn't you like? What resonated with you? What didn't? These kinds of things. And so it's beautiful when we can come together and share these ideas, and using that to circle back to what we were discussing about not needing gurus, right? Like we're
Right.
all each other's gurus, and that's one of the
Yeah.
reasons why I began the International Outreach Think Tank group, is to bring all the greatest minds together
Right.
across all of I mean, it's bigger than our 50 states,
Right.
because we've got Canada, Australia, and any of the other countries coming in and sharing their ideas as well. And that is how I feel like we ought to be operating as an organization, is bringing all the great minds together, having this think tank of coming up with ideas and having tools and resources to share. And technically, I believe that that's how our trainings should be. If you've had how many people that have been serving, say, as, I don't know, recording secretaries, right? Bring them all together and have them create, or improve the training for recording secretaries, right?
100%. I mean, that's where the video ought to come from or whatever, but there's the handbook. And so that's where this notebook and, like helps, and it brings it all together. And because look, people need the handbook to be able to read and just to have in the background, right? But when you're new, it's nice to also have someone present the video. And I would want to recommend that people do it the way that Michelle was doing her, her Yay, I'm on the land, class, where she had a variety of these videos for people, and she was changing them up all the time, you know, to kind of be like, look, this is, I know you can get with this, and you might not get this, but maybe you'll get this. And she'll show these different ways. And so if you have a series of those, right, and it would be even really cool I would think that it would be more fun to watch a playlist on YouTube of 10 different recording secretaries or 20, teach, because each of them is going to teach something else, something different.
Yeah, and everybody has their own style of
Right.
presenting the information. And I'll use Hudson Roberts as an example.
Yes.
Young guy in his 20s, extremely intelligent and knowledgeable in the material and can articulate it really well. He does a completely different style than I do, right? And then there's somebody else that we used to have somebody in our assembly that would do outreach, and he would just get up in front of a podium in front of an audience, and maybe would have like bullet points, and he would walk people through the history and just openly speak. I like to have slide presentations because I'm visual and I like having visuals, and everybody does it differently, and you can grab something different from each of these different styles. And again, that's what's so beautiful about coming together and sharing resources and putting the best minds together to come up with material. And that's one of the things that Louise Campbell did with Louise Campbell Anthony with the American Government Resurgence Project, right? She started off with an idea, and it was presented to the outreach think tank group, and we would give her some feedback, and then she would get another idea, and it started to snowball into this big project where it's in all these different phases, and it was just created so beautifully. And I think that when it comes from an organic place like that, where it's developed organically, it's really beautiful. And the best part about the project, and with any of these things that we're discussing, is that you can take somebody's material and change it and make it into your own. Like I'll share my slide presentation, and the only thing that I require is, hey, take our Assemblies information off there and put your own, and change it, do whatever you want to it. It's yours, because we're here to share and help everybody grow. And
then it's fun to see how everyone puts their spice on there.
Yes.
Puts their little bit of seasoning on there. And that, I mean, to me, that's the way to really teach the people.
Yeah. And you know what I found, Neethi, is that somebody has an idea, they share it, right? And maybe it was a slide presentation, and it went up there, right? And it's, people take it and now they're making it their own. And maybe I see it and I'm like, oh, I never thought to add that in there. that is a great idea. I'm going to take that idea and I'm going to add it into mine also.
Right.
And this is how we should be operating. There should not be any one guru that says, hey,
No,
that's the person I go to for all my information. They know best.
no. First of all, it's too much pressure on one somebody. And
That's
then
right.
secondly, it's not good because every state, our landscape is so different on all the states.
Absolutely.
And there's no one who can honestly say that they know what is going on everywhere. And also it isn't for them to do that, you know? And
Right.
so there can't be someone like that. I feel like the only thing the Federation can truly offer everyone are the various writings and the various written tools. And then outside of that, it's like you and I are discussing, like if we take your one slideshow that you do and we all use it, even if we all use yours, okay? And yeah, we just maybe change the logo. The way I'm going to present it and the way you're going to present it and the way the next 10 people are going to present it is not going to be the same.
Right.
Impossible.
Exactly right.
You know, and also the discussions behind that are going to be so different. And so I think that when we take something like yours and and everybody use it to death, then the next person creates one and then we use that one to death. And then the next one, then there's no way that we could have a gap. Otherwise there's stop gaps everywhere.
Yeah. And on our assembly, I created the slide presentation for our county tours. We've got 2 different ones now. So we're trying to, figure which one resonates the most with people. And we really wanted to focus more so on the structure of our government and getting our government standing. And so we decided that instead of me giving this presentation, to be quite honest, I'm tired of giving the presentations. I've been doing outreach for 4 years now. And I was hoping that people on their own would say, hey, I think I'm ready to do this. But what I've come to find out is that sometimes people just need a little nudge. And so what we've decided is that the next time around is that we are going to take turns, and 4 of us are going to be giving that presentation. So there's going to be 4 different flavors of giving that presentation. And I think that is actually going to spice things up and make it more interesting for the people that are coming to the county tours. And it takes the pressure off of one person to do it. And I think it's going to fly a little bit better and more smoothly, and it'll be more fun.
Yeah, well, and the variety for everyone who comes, because like we have our monthly presentations and we've had times where we've had different people speaking, different people leading, combinations of a group of us doing it, And so when we go through all these seasons, now it's been 4 years since 2022. I've been hosting it. So, it's come a pretty long way and the conversation keeps changing. But now at this time, the split's about to happen. It's happening faster and faster. And I think that's the urgency that Anna is trying to impress upon everyone. And even she's having a hard time holding on because she wants to help bring everybody along as much as she can too.
Yeah, it's really difficult because we're really living in such tumultuous times.
And the people that end up on the new earth aren't going to maybe be who everybody thinks it's going to be, because you think you know the people. You think first of all, we don't know all of them. We're part of the 1% of the 1% when you talk about anyone who's familiar with what, like even just Anna's work, right? As far as the assemblies and stuff go. But as far as the entire planet goes, hello, there's a whole world of them out there that are going to be moving along with us, and a whole world of them that are, like she said, subatomic dust. They will just, you know, their hydrogen particles will just fall apart, because that is not, it's not going to be, and we're not going to feel like any harm has come. There's nothing to fear. Everything's happening for us.
Yeah, I mean, I feel excited. I mean,
I
I
do
keep
too.
in my mind's eye what I want our world to look like,
Mm-hmm.
and or I keep that just in my mind's eye, and that's what I meditate on, and that's, I feel like I am helping to manifest it.
Yeah, of
And
course you are. Like all of our 30 trillion watts each. We just need to focus on what we want and why we want it. And it is just going to, it's done. It's already done. We already know that the living have won. I mean, we're going to have what it is that we're thinking anyway.
yeah, and you make a good point with the living, right? I want to kind of impress upon people's minds, this scenario, if you could keep in mind. Our words are really powerful, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
intent behind the words. And
Mm-hmm.
so you're either going to have words that instill life, or you're going to have words that are going to impress death, right?
Right.
And these are two opposites, right? And so remember that when you are speaking to anybody, even your enemies, uh like I said, I recently had somebody that was trying to accuse me of all sorts of things, and I chuckled to myself. I don't, it wasn't a trigger. I wasn't triggered by it. I wasn't upset about it. I just thought, wow, like I'm just going to pray for him, because something seriously is not right there. And I really prayed for his soul, because if you can be that evil and speaking negatively and putting all sorts of accusations out there without being able to back it up with any evidence and come forward, and all you want to do is create disruptions and negativity and all those low vibrations, all those
Mm-hmm.
low vibrational frequencies. um and I said to myself, if they really were concerned about our assembly and really thought that I was stealing, let's just say, they would have had the evidence, and they would have brought it to somebody of trust, and they would have already handled it without having to go on social media and put all those accusations out there. So to me, those kinds of behaviors are just laughable now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's laughable. And to me, if that's happening in other assemblies, and there's all this, I see power struggles going on constantly, and in the back of my mind, I keep playing, well, Anna said that coordinators are not a powerful position. They're there to be a liaison. What's the liaison's position? It's to go to the federation, show up at the meetings, get the necessary information to bring it back to the assembly. That's it. And they're there to make sure that positions are being filled, and they're coordinating efforts. Maybe they're running meetings, but outside of that, they've got no power. and
Right.
and so when I hear certain coordinators really struggling for that power and think that they have the power to make decisions for their assembly, I just think, man, they really got it wrong here. They just got it wrong, and there's all sorts of different things happening, right? You got some coordinators that maybe don't do much of anything, and then you've got coordinators that want to do it all and then some. And so, like we said last week, right, when I used the analogy of the baseball team, is that we all have our roles, and one role isn't more important than the other. We're just filling a role. And so, it's like, just do the job.
Yeah.
Just do the job, show up with love, compassion, understanding, and kindness to your fellow man and woman, use it with your words. Come with that attitude to your assembly, and love, because if you have love, Neethi, if people had love for you, you wouldn't have been experiencing the hateful words and the hateful attacks.
Yeah.
And,
Well, we all were, I think all of us have experienced the assemblies working and gelling and doing really well. I mean, we certainly did for at least the better part of a year. And then all of a sudden, it turned into chaos, you know. But it's okay. Look, whatever has happened, everything's happening for us. So we're not going to worry about it.
right,
Everything we know is happening for the new earth. The frequencies are doing the shifting that needs to happen. And the best part is that no one man or woman has the keys to the kingdom, girl.
right.
Nobody.
Yes, that's
It's
true.
in the hands of the creator. It is universally being managed, and we don't have to do anything about it. I love it. I think it's the best thing. We don't have to do anything except find the love, find the truth, and stay on that
Stay on that
frequency.
frequency.
Yeah, just stay on that frequency. I think that's the hardest thing. When you come into the assembly, then everybody wants to join the village. But the whole problem is that whole village is not necessarily all on the same frequency or on the highest frequency.
Yeah.
And it's it's a small pool right now. So you have to make sure that you allow yourself to operate. First of all, you got to remember to tell the truth. Practice what's written in here.
Right.
And if you're not practicing this, if you're not practicing it, you don't get it, you don't want to do it or whatever. Then
and I think people are so used to wearing, I like to use the analogy, wearing a mask, right? Coming up and showing up fake. And this requires us to be genuine and authentic.
Yeah, you won't be able to operate on the new earth being fake and phony. So get real. Get ready to be real. And, truth, like real talk is about to be something that you better know how to do. And most people aren't able to handle that because they can't handle the truth. And they're so busy worrying about everybody else, who's being left behind, what other people think of them, who they're impressing. They're busier trying to impress people and follow the pack than they are.
There's still some politicking going on too, right?
Like, it's all politics. All of that is politics.
Yes. And so they're making sure that they're rubbing elbows with all the right people, and making sure that they're surrounded by,
the majority. They want to be with the majority.
Right.
So they should do it. Go ahead.
Yes. And so I go back to your intentions. What are your intentions? Are you showing up with love and compassion for your fellow men and women? Are you a student, a lifelong student, looking for, constantly searching for truth and speaking truth and staying genuine and authentic?
Yep. Well, I got to get ready for the next one, Tammy.
Well, this was a great conversation.
I know. I feel like we keep getting off of the sheet, but so we'll try to go back to it again and see if the universe lets us do it. it's like I think it's hilarious.
Well, I mean, we don't need to beat a dead horse, right? I mean, I think we covered the topics. I think there was a few people that emailed me for the document. I shared it out, and you have it up here. I think that it's pretty much self-explanatory at this point. And I think we have to we could read all this all we want, We have to
Yeah.
actually put it into action.
Yeah. And just, for anybody who didn't really fully comprehend it, it says, building trust in virtual teams, making an effort to connect personally. This is not about writing a trust document. It's not about
Right,
activating
right.
a banking trust. This isn't about the banking part. This is about how to be friends, how to love each other, how to work together, how to be
Yeah, and
vulnerable.
that last part right down there, Neeti, if you scroll,
Mhm.
it says focus on the other person during conversations to enhance connection. I can't tell you how many times
Mhm.
I've met some people and I felt like I was interviewing them. uh they were trying to sell me on themselves, and like
Yeah.
they were giving me their resume and their life experience, and not once did they ever ask questions about me or about my life or anything. And so that also, is something that we have to change, like putting the
Yeah.
focus on the other people. uh
They're everybody's so used to not knowing that they were born worthy beyond belief.
Right, right. And so they're trying to convince people of it. I always say you don't need to
Mhm.
toot your own horn.
No, that was the corporate paradigm.
Right,
The
right.
corporate
I don't need your
paradigm
resume
the
to
corporate paradigm was if you didn't toot your own horn, nobody would. So, people felt like they have to do that. But
right.
we're
Yeah.
not involved in that. That's not us.
Right. Right. And
Yeah.
you're not here to impress people. We are here to do the work to get our government standing so that we could get back to a lawful life, a lawful government that protects the people and the assets.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, thank you again for joining me. I look very forward every Tuesday to going over some more of this with you. And, right now we need to continue these conversations more than ever because you guys, there's nothing to fear. Everybody's like, everybody's looming and thinking about the dark days and, you know, all of this kind of thing, but no one's even going to know when it happens.
Right.
It's going to kind of come and go. And I'm looking forward to when we don't really have to think about time.
Right. Yes, I know time is a hot commodity, and I feel like we get very little of it for ourselves, you know. So
But,
it,
but
it will be
very
nice when we
soon,
have,
but very soon,
yes.
very soon, we're going to be operating honestly, truthfully, in a reality where there is no concern about
Right.
time.
Yep.
So I'm looking very forward to it.
So am I. Every day I look forward to it.
Yep. All right,
I
guys.
try to
So,
I try to keep myself thinking, what does it feel like to live in a life where time is not an issue anymore? And when I can feel what that feels like, I think that that's when we start resonating there and we are
hmm.
building that reality.
Yeah, I've been spending a lot of time in the now,
Yeah.
which means that I haven't really been online. And
Right.
it is,
It's
I
beautiful,
think
isn't it?
it's the way to go.
Yeah.
It's the way to go. Anyway, all right, friends, we are going to see you guys next Tuesday.
Yeah.
If you want, I'll see a bunch. Hopefully, I'll see a bunch of you in 30 minutes with Hudson from the Living Man podcast, and we're going to be continuing that conversation. And I'm really excited to see how he's doing after a couple weeks off. And again, thank you, Tammy, and I'll see
You're
you
welcome. I look forward to that
soon.
podcast.
All right, thank you.
I'll see you guys next week.